Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have Miss Heather Crouch on with me. And just so you can get to know her, I'm going to read her bio. Heather Crouch is 53 years old and a Christian, and that's the most important thing about her. She has been married less than 1 year, and her husband have 5 kids, aged 29 to 15, and 2 granddaughters, sisters, ages 5 and 1, and a black lab named Clark. Heather has always loved writing, from creative writing classes in school to journaling for most of her adult life. She is halfway finished with her first book, a memoir. Heather became formally trained as a copywriter when she learned she could make a career of helping others communicate with written words, something that came so naturally to her. Before that, she had already written persuasive copy for the sales position she held for many years. She just didn't know what it was called. Today, Heather is a freelance writer working from home in the beautiful Midwest. She can choose her clients and how much work she wants to take on. It's a pretty good gig, and every bit of it funds her retirement dreams, including a second home in Tennessee, near those grand girls. Heather's why centers around her family and church. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today, Heather.
Thank you. I am very excited to be here.
And I'm always happy to talk about family and I know you that's really important to you. So just so people can get to know you, tell us your story, how you started out, how you got to be doing the copywriting.
All right. My story. Well, like I wrote in my bio, I have always loved writing. It's always been something that I was good at, but I didn't know I was good at it until I got feedback, people telling me that I was good at it. And so that kind of fueled it. And I didn't know there was a career until 2023 when I learned about copywriting. And so I took a course and I did all the things. I created a website. I started creating spec ads so that I could build a portfolio and just putting myself out there. And I joined a networking group and it's beginning to snowball and I'm beginning to feel the momentum, which is really exciting. And it's starting to grow. It's very exciting. So I love it.
That is awesome. Well, what were you doing before that? Because that's just been the last year or so. What were you doing before that?
Yeah, before that, oh my goodness, I have dabbled in many different industries from the service industry. So I have been a server in many restaurants, hospitality. I have worked in hotels, customer service, lots of people based businesses. Um, I didn't go to college, so I just kind of had jobs. I never really felt like I had a career. And so now that I'm a copywriter, I feel like I have like I'm an adult, like a big girl. I actually have a career now. But yeah, before that, I just think I'm gifted in hospitality and service. So any way that I could work with people, whether it's customer care, like I said, or serving in a restaurant, hotel, as a receptionist, things like that. So I just dabbled in a little bit of everything. But behind the scenes, I was always a writer. And then for about a decade, I did direct sales and I was doing copywriting. I just didn't know it. I was persuasively writing on social media and I was selling and I was good at it. So I didn't know that I was copywriting before I became a copywriter.
Mm. Now, family is really important for you. So tell me about this big family of yours and how all
Yeah.
this came about.
My family is the most important thing to me. I am a very proud boy mom. I have 2 sons. My oldest is about to turn 30, which I can't believe, and my youngest is 26. So the boys are 4 years apart. My oldest son is married, and they have 2 girls. So I have 2 granddaughters, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. And last year, I was remarried, and so my husband has 3 kids. So I have 3 bonus kids. I have a stepdaughter and 2 stepsons. And so we kind of live all over. My husband and I are out here in Nebraska, And two of his three kids are here because his oldest goes to college in Missouri. And then my two boys are in Georgia and Tennessee because they were both in the Army, which took them in two different directions. So we're really spread out. It's hard on my mama heart now more than ever. And so my why I write and why I'm building my freelance copywriting career is to just continue to fund um, an account so that when my husband retires, we're able to buy a second home a little bit closer to family. So we're looking at Tennessee, where my granddaughters live, and to be able to travel back and forth and spend half of our time out here with his family and half of our time there with my family.
Mhm. So there are a lot of people who end up in divorce situations. And then, of course, most people would like to get remarried and have that special person. But when I think about doing that a second time, combining children, families. So, first of all, I guess I got kind of a two-part question. How did you meet your husband, and how do y'all make it work?
We actually met on a Christian dating site. And at first, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but you know, I was 50 and I was a grandmother and I didn't really feel like I was dating material. So I wasn't even sure really why I did it. Well, that's not true. I did it because I was very lonely and I was sad coming home to a quiet house. And I did it just for companionship. I didn't really do it seeking to find someone that I would spend the rest of my life with, but God knew. And so I just kind of went on there to dip my toes in the water and see what would happen. And this is how I know God was in it because you hear stories of people that go on dating sites, horror stories of people that go on dating sites. And that did not happen to me. I was on there for 9 days before I met him. And we were unfortunately 2 hours apart. And so we began a long distance relationship after our first date where we just met and instantly knew, which I know sounds cliche, but I do believe it was love at first sight. I know I can still picture him the moment that I saw him. And he said the same. So we saw each other, we met at a restaurant, kind of halfway in between our two homes. And yeah, from that date on, we began a 2-year long distance relationship. And he proposed to me right around my birthday. And 6 months later, we were married. Our whole family came together, which was a big blessing to have my sons come out to the Midwest with, my oldest son's wife and their daughters, and my mom and my sister. And just it was such a time of celebration. And like I said, I know it was of God because, there's just been this might sound silly for someone that doesn't know my story, but like to me, to be in a relationship where there were no flags was beautiful. And just to experience the healing that I have experienced being with him. And again, the joy when our families met for the first time at our wedding. And just since then, it's just been, this is life. So there's always going to be challenges and trials. We haven't had any yet, but we know that they're coming. But we've built our relationship on a very solid foundation, and it's blessed by God, and I'm just so grateful.
So, what do you think is one or two things that you do that makes that relationship stickable?
Yeah.
Helps you stay together.
Well, I think faith is such a big part of our lives. So I think that's probably number one. In addition to, going to church together on Sunday, we chose a church together that we wanted to attend. Because his kids are the ones that live here, they come with us and they like it too. So we found our home church We're actually being baptized together on June 2nd.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, and I'm most excited about that because he is gonna be baptized first, and then he's gonna get to baptize me, which is just so special.
That is
I'm
really
really excited.
special. That is really
Yeah, and just the, that we can freely talk about our faith, and, I think that, and also we both come from a similar background as far as hurts go from previous relationship. And so to be able to freely talk about those and be completely transparent, um, I mean, the man has seen me cry. There's just been hurts that, baggage that comes along with it. And he's just, he's always listened and supported and comforted. Um, I mean, even just this past Sunday, we had a brand new conversation that was just so deep and so vulnerable. And he's always felt safe to me. And I believe I'm the same for him. There's no judgment. Like, I remember when I met him, I'm like, I need to tell you some things. So I got some stories for you. And so I think that's it. I think our faith, number one, I love that he's a man of God, truly. And number two, just that we from day one have shared everything so that there's no surprises down the line. Like, this is who I am, this is what I come from, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I I remember saying, if you want to run for the hills, I understand. And he told me if he runs for the hills, he's going to take me with him.
Oh,
So,
so
I know.
sweet. Oh,
So yeah, I think those are the two things: just open communication and honesty. And everyone that you meet has brokenness on some level. And so just to be able to find someone that you can share with and have dreams for the future with and things like that, it's a blessing.
yeah, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So where did your faiths begin?
Oh goodness. Well, I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised by my mom, and she took me to church, my sister and I. And so, up until I became a teenager who really didn't want to go to church anymore,
Mhm.
I was raised in the church. And then my boy's dad was a Catholic. So we decided that we were going to raise them as Catholic. And it was actually during that time in the Catholic Church when I met Jesus, which I know if any of your listeners are not a Christian, they might not understand what that means. And so to me, what that means, Jesus died on the cross for me and for my sins so that I wouldn't have to spend an eternity separate from him. And so I learned that in the Catholic Church. I learned that by talking to a priest about confession. And this kind of probably will sound off to some Catholics, but that priest said, you can talk directly to God. You don't have to talk to me to get to God. And it was just an eye-opening experience. And I remember being in such awe of that I could have a relationship with this person who died on the cross for me. It was so powerful that the following Sunday in church, I could not even get to my feet to walk down the aisle and receive communion. Like, I couldn't walk. I was crying. I'm a crier. It's amazing I've gotten this far talking to you, and I haven't cried. But I just remember being overcome with awe, and it's never gone away. I have a relationship with him that has sustained me through some very, very painful, dark seasons. And I just have a very deep faith. I trust in him and I trust his timing. And so even though we have trials, because we will, the Bible says we will, I can cling to the fact that I am not alone and that he has good for me. And I may not understand it. I may not even see it, but I believe that it's there.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I love telling my testimony. God has shown up in just miracles in my life that can only be explained by God. Even, when my marriage fell apart, I believe that was of God because there were things going on behind the scenes that I did not know about. Should have known when I mentioned earlier red flags. I mean, I was just really blind. And so I believe, and no one can tell me any different. I believe God was just looking down and saw me and said, no more, no more. And he removed me from a situation. And I am grateful. So,
Mhm.
yes, some people might feel the pain of the trial and the experience the hurt, the deep hurt and the darkness. And that whole season could go on very long and they could feel abandoned and where is God and why would God allow this? But if you trust him, you are able to look back and be like, wow, that's why that happened. And I'm so grateful. So yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So I'd like to talk to you about copywriting now. What is copywriting? Who needs it? What do we do with it?
Okay, I love it. So, copywriting is persuasive text. And so, if you are in business, you are writing copy. It's could be called advertising, marketing, but basically, you are putting a message out there and you want it to be persuasive because you want to compel your audience to buy from you, sign up with you, click here, shop there, join me. You're compelling them to do something. And so it's persuasive and every business owner needs it and is doing it on some level, but they might not know the little secrets, the secrets that are going to convert because they're doing things on their own and they haven't had the training in what works and what doesn't. Like you have to have a call of action. You can't just tell them about your wonderful service or product without then having them do the next step, right?
Mhm.
And so it's just all about there's psychology involved in it and you have to speak to them and because they're showing up like, well, what's in it for me? What can you offer me? How are you going to help me overcome my pain points? And so you need to speak to them, and there's a skill to that. And a copywriter will do that for you by learning your brand voice and the tone in which you speak. So a skilled copywriter will connect with you first and learn those things about you so that when they write your copy, it sounds like it's coming from you and it is compelling your target audience to a call to action, whether it's like I said, signing up here for the newsletter or shop here now. It's getting them to convert to paying customers. And my target audience, I'm sure this will be a big surprise, is a Christian. And it doesn't mean I won't write for someone who's not. I have and I will, as long as it aligns with, my values. But I enjoy writing for Christians and nonprofits because I feel like if I have this gift and I do feel called to write, then someone else who has a business and they may be a podcaster, they may be a coach, they may have a tangible product that they're selling on Etsy. I have one client that's an attorney, but if they are working to serve Christians, if I can help them with my writing, then I feel like it's like kind of coming full circle. Like I'm helping them, they're serving, and it could have like a kingdom impact. And like I said, that's not to say I would ever, you know, I have boundaries. Like there's not, I won't write for everybody, but you don't have to be a Christian. But to me, that is my ideal audience right there. That's who I can get really excited about sitting down at my computer and just serving them to the highest level.
Wow. So, what kinds of things do you write for? Is it social media? Is it, um, you know, I'm getting fewer and fewer things in my mailbox these days. Is it, is it for print? Is it, what are all the different areas you would write for?
Yeah, there's so many. Like you mentioned, you're getting fewer things in your mailbox, so that would be direct mail. But a copywriter writes everything from a billboard to the side of a bus to a video, or like if you're watching television and you see a commercial. I saw one the other morning and it was for a truck. And I could tell because I'm a copywriter that whoever wrote the words that the person was speaking, like the voice over the commercial, was done by AI. And I could just tell because it didn't sound like human or emotion, like, it just wasn't that good. But anyway, I say that to say it can be something you see on television, but most commonly for me, I write a lot of emails, blogs, social media, and a lot of web pages. Some people, need help with their homepage, their about page, a landing page, things like that. So I guess I'm more of a digital marketer when you look at it like that. I don't do a lot of direct mail pieces, but we could. Those are certainly things we could do. Brochures, magazines, newspapers, things like that. Anything really when you think of advertising or marketing that a business is doing, they don't want to just wing it. This is a, you want to be strategic about your um, marketing.
So, how do you speak to sell without being salesy?
Well, you need to, first of all, like for me as a copywriter, when I talk about speaking in their brand voice, you want to sound like them. So you would use words that they use, don't use words that they wouldn't use. So you're going to come across sounding like them and you're going to speak to their target audience. So their demographic, male or female, what age group, how much money do they make, all where do they live, all the things. And you really just want to target their pain point. So what is it that they need and what is it that they are after and that they want? And you're going to write so that they feel compelled, like, oh, this is the person that has exactly what I need. This is the product that I need. This is the service that I need. And it's going to compel them to. And another thing, you're getting them, again, as a copywriter, to stand out from the competition. So if I'm on someone's website, I can see why, oh, this is the person that I need to work with because I'm looking at their homepage and it's showing me that.
Mhm. Beautiful. And when you're saying speak in their voice, is it just from having conversations with them or from looking at the other things they've written? How do
Yeah.
you figure out what their voice is? I mean, that's almost like an actress, like you're changing
Yes.
voices.
That's a really good question. It comes during the kickoff call. So when I have what's called a discovery call. So I have more of a brief call with someone. It's usually about 30, 45 minutes, somewhere in there. And that is a decision. That's where we decide if we're going to be a good fit for one another. If I feel like I can help them with my copywriting and if they feel like I'm the right person to write for them. So we have that discovery call. And then once we've decided we want to go forward together, we have what's called a kickoff call. That call might take a little longer. It's not terribly long, maybe about an hour, but I come with a bunch of questions and I get to understand their brand and their tone guide. So, like I said, all the way that they speak, I don't want to show up. Sometimes I'm not even from the South, but I might say y'all when I'm writing on social media. It might even just be me being lazy. But if I'm writing personally, I'll say y'all, and someone else might never say that.
Uh-huh.
I also don't, I'm not like, I don't really curse. I'm not saying anything against people that do, but I don't. Some businesses, you read their marketing and they're just like, that's their bold kind of way of reaching their target audience and it resonates. And so
Uh-huh.
you got to get into that. Like you said, almost like an actress. And so that's why I found for me, like to be able to niche down and work with a certain type of client almost makes that easier. I can still write for someone else, but once you start working with a certain kind of client, it does become easier, but everyone is different and you really need to listen. When you have that kickoff call, take a lot of notes. There's a lot of questions that I go over just because I really want to understand. I want to understand their backstory, their history, where they come from, their goals, their dreams for their business, their challenges. I want to get into their competition and see what's working, what's not working, and just so we can really be strategic about their marketing.
So you said something about AI. And what happens when someone tries to do it themselves using AI? What is the result? Like sometimes it sounds better. I put a little paragraph in there and say make it better, and it sounds a little better than my voice.
Yeah.
So what happens with the AI and why does it not work as well?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, it is a great tool and I use it. And I know many copywriters who use it. The thing is, you don't want to pass that off as you're writing. So you can use it to kind of filter stuff down or maybe create an outline or get like your first steps, your first draft, and it'll be good. But a human can know your brand voice again. So I say I have a new client and I've had our kickoff call and I understand who they are, how they speak, where they come from, what their target audience is, what their goals are. AI doesn't know that. And even if you prompt it and you can feed it certain information, it can spit things out to a certain level, but I don't think it could ever replace a skilled copywriter. And I think many people can begin to pick it out. Like I said, I actually heard it in a commercial and I thought, well, that sounds like I've heard that before.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and even just today, I was writing something today. What was I searching? Trying to think. I was on AI and I was looking for something, some verbiage for something, and it actually said at the bottom, you can tweak that as desired. And I thought, well, isn't that what you do? So take it or leave it. But anyway, it is definitely, I'm thankful for it.
Mhm.
In some ways, it can be really helpful and really useful. It's kind of like social media. Like if you use it well, it can be a great networking tool, but it can also, there's a lot of bad that comes along with it. And I think the same thing about AI. I think if people want to rely on that, it's for your business, and I don't think you want subpar copy out there that's gonna sound like everything else. It's gonna have the little rocket ship emoji, and it's gonna tell you to elevate this, and it's just gonna sound like it's not gonna help you to stand out because a lot of people are using it. So you can use it, but then you gotta finesse it, and definitely you just wanna make it your own, and you wanna be the one when people are thinking about, whatever it is they're searching for. You don't want to just be in the crowd. You want to stand out, and a good copywriter can help you do that. I don't think a machine can.
Mhm. Yeah. So I know that you like reading and that helps you just grow as a person. And does that help you with your copywriting or is it just something you personally like to do to um, make yourself a better person?
That's a good question. I know for me, when it comes to copywriting, I love listening to podcasts like business podcasts and copywriting. The course that I took to become a copywriter, they offer a podcast. So I devour that every time one comes out. Things like that for personal growth. I love the podcast. When it comes to my reading, again, it is for personal growth, but I don't tend to read copywriting books. I like books that are um, deep on a spiritual level. So I like hearing other people's stories, stories of strength and resilience and redemption, kind of like my story.
Mhm.
And just anything inspirational, like Andy Andrews is one of my favorites. Just something that I'm going to read and be like, oh my gosh, that was a great story. And so I try to read one book a month. That's what I'm doing this year. So I've gotten pretty good at night about, instead of playing on my phone and scrolling and consuming nothing that's going to help me grow as a person. I've got a book on my nightstand, and I try to, this is a new thing for me this year, is to be able to read. In addition to in the morning, I do a morning devotional. And I spend a little time reading the Bible. At night, I've just decided I'm going to try to get through one book every month, and it's going good so far.
That is so cool. And I wanted to ask you this too. When it comes to AI, so many times people are going on there and they're even creating pictures of themselves. It's not even themselves. Like we have these avatars or, we have these beauty filters we put on. And what do you think about all of that?
Oh my gosh, that's a little bit of a nerve that you've touched. Not really, but what do I think about that? I think we are created in the image of God. Every one of us is unique and every one of us is beautiful. And I think, especially as women, and especially these young girls that are on social media. Okay, now here's where I might start crying. I told you earlier I was a crier, but this is a big deal. We can't compare ourselves to other women. We can't turn back the clock. You can't use a filter. I mean, you can, but why would you do that? I just feel like we're all so beautiful on the inside and the outside, every one of us. And so I just think it's silly and it's nonsense. And I see women my age, I'm 53 now, and I see women that I went to school with that use filters. And then you see all the comments about, oh, you look so beautiful. And like, why? Why can't we just not have that and tell each other we're beautiful? So when it comes to AI, and it's downright scary because it's changing. I mean, it is changing the way people look completely. When you talk about, again, social media and the way some people, they download an app, and I'm sure it's just for fun. And I don't mean to make it sound so serious, but it's completely changed how some of them look. And
Mhm.
sure, they look like a knockout, but you were already a knockout. It's more airbrushed. I say that with the blurred background, but that's just because I have a real lived-in house behind me. But, I just feel like, again, I feel like I work with what I have. Like, there's nothing wrong with putting on your makeup and doing your hair and picking out pretty clothes and getting your nails done. But, like, when it comes to AI, I just feel like that might be a step too far, and maybe we don't really need to do that, and just appreciate inner beauty and natural beauty instead of going down that road. It's scary. And AI now, like, I don't know much about this, but I understand it can even like it can impersonate people's voices. And just imagine the damage.
Mhm.
It's a scary direction. I don't know that we can stop it, but I don't really like it.
Got it. Got it. Well, if people wanted to work with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you. I have a website and it's really easy. It's just my name. So Heather Crouch, www.heathercrouch.com is my website. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest, which I'm trying to grow my Pinterest board. I'm just dabbling. I'm not really sure what I'm doing over there, but it's sure fun.
Mhm.
And LinkedIn and Facebook are where I mostly try to get out there and connect with people. And I do have a special right now that I just shared today on my social media. And I'm offering, for this month of May, I'm offering free audits on one piece of content. So whether it's your homepage on your website, or whether you've written an email newsletter or a blog, whatever you've got, one thing, send it my way. I will have a little conversation with you again. We'll have a little mini kickoff call just so I can learn about you. And again, this is free. So it's a small little act of service, but I want to be able to look at what you've got and learn a little bit about you and say, hey, I think you can improve by doing XYZ, and I think you might want to try this and take it and run with it. Um, I think you'll find that it would be beneficial to hire a copywriter, but some people won't, and they'll be able to take what I share and use that and just improve their messaging on their own, and that's good too. I've It costs me nothing to be able to share just a little nugget like that. So that's what I'm offering for May is a free audit on one piece of copy. All they have to do is contact me, and then we'll get our schedules together and we'll figure out when we can talk, and we'll go over that one piece of copy. I'll tell you what I see. I'll tell you what I think that you can do to improve, and you can take it and run with it, or we can continue our relationship. However it goes is fine.
Sounds wonderful. So now I have a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life right now?
Oh my goodness. Definitely my family. Definitely my family. I feel like I don't understand why it took so long for me to be in my 50s to realize, like, wow, like family is everything. And I love spending time with them. My husband and I were just able to go to Florida to see my grandma for her 98th birthday. One of my
98.
boys was able to be there. Um, we were at my sister's house with her whole family, and it was just amazing. And I knew this before I got there. I'm just saying I'm beginning to realize the older I get, and maybe that's just what it is just um how valuable family is. And that is why I do what I do, because all I want to do is build this little nest egg so that in a couple of years, when my husband retires, we're able to purchase land or a home in Tennessee and be able to split our time with family, go on family trips together, have family reunions, have Sunday dinner and holidays and celebrations, and just that's it. That's all that matters. And so that's the most important thing to me for sure.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, for all
You.
your wisdom and your stories and just being so vulnerable.
Thank you, Kimberly. It was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so I have one last question before we finish.
Okay.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Oh my goodness. Best advice. Honestly, I would say don't wait one more day before you begin a relationship with the Lord if you haven't. And if you have, you've already got that, then you just love on and cherish your family. But I would say for sure, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, that's eternity. That's the main thing. And then for while you're here, it's family. So that's, yeah. And if anybody doesn't know how to do that, or just is like, what does that even mean? You can contact me at all my copywriting channels, and I'll be happy to talk about that too. Because yeah, that would be the main thing for me.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, bye.